Welcome to the Krista Escamilla Show.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of the Krista Escamilla Show. It's so nice to be spending some time with you, and I hope that all is well in your world. I want to thank some of our sponsors before we get started: Rig ID Workwear, Midland Cap Company, and JoinCapClub.com. Support those local vendors if you can. I just want to get into today's podcast with, first of all, gratefulness that she's sitting here. We have Ms. Karmen Hendrix Bryant with us, who is a community volunteer, but she is also one of the biggest philanthropists in town, and this is actually Philanthropy Month. So I can't think of a better person to have to kick off Philanthropy Month than Karmen Hendrix Bryant. Thanks for being with us, Karmen.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Well, I am just so excited to hear your story. I've seen you at events throughout the years, and you are always so giving with your time and sitting on so many boards. And I thought, I really would love to get to know her better and hear her story. So that's why we're here today, is just to learn a little bit more about you and why you love our great community. So
Sure.
Let's just start from the beginning. Are you born and raised here?
I am born and raised. Graduated from Midland High in '94. Actually went off to University of Arkansas and then moved to Austin. And what brought me home to Midland in 2000 was a heart attack. My dad had a heart attack at 65. I had to have a quadruple bypass in Houston, and I thought, what in the heck am I doing? Like, I need to be home with my family.
Right.
So it brought me home, and it obviously changed my life. Met my husband 4 years later, was married 6 years later, and so that's a little glimpse into my history there.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I love it. So you went Bulldogs, you went Razorback, then went into to Longhorn World.
Yeah, exactly.
And then brought you back here to the Energy City.
Yes.
I love it.
Yes,
What a great story.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that journey. And I know I read somewhere you studied journalism, because I was like, oh, we share that. What was it about journalism that was your passion?
And so I actually, it's interesting. I wanted to do advertising and public relations.
Okay.
Had a professor in college that said, no, you really want to do print journalism. And then, I always thought, oh, it would be so fun to do broadcast, but never felt I had a face for radio. So anyway.
So much. You have a definite face for television.
Thank you. So I went into advertising and public relations, and I don't know, it's just such a exciting creative world and creative outlet, and especially public relations. And that's actually kind of what catapulted me into nonprofit work here, or people seeing the value with that marketing background, because I think, and your experience obviously with the media, but again, I think people are intimidated by that world if they don't know it. And so I think there was a lot of value in talking to people and saying, yeah, you just, call them up and they'll do commercials, and, it's not quite as scary as you think. So having that background and that knowledge, I think, was really helpful to some local nonprofits.
Right, because I think that is true, and really don't ever be scared of the media. No. We love you, and we love the community. We want to support you, and I think that's important to know, because a lot of times as a nonprofit, if you reach out to us, send us a press release, we love nothing more than covering those stories. And
content is good. We're looking for
it. As long as we have staff, and as long as we get someone that can get it, we are going to cover those stories.
Absolutely.
So I love that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So then you studied journalism, came back when your father had the heart attack, and then what was it like being back in Midland after leaving? Because I hear this. I got to Midland as fast as I could 24 years ago, but I hear a lot of people that grew up here. They can't wait to get out, right?
Right.
But then they also love it even more when they come back.
Absolutely.
Was that your experience?
Absolutely, it was. Yeah. When I moved home, I went to work for my dad. He's in oil and gas, and also on the side had commercial real estate properties, 4 at the time. So I worked with my brother-in-law, and ran the real estate part. So it was a good time to be back. My oldest sister, her children, I believe, were 4 and 1 at the time. So really being able to be here and bond with my niece and nephew was great. My other sister had moved home, so it was just a really special, looking back. You don't know until you look back sometimes. But
isn't that true?
Yes, it is.
So true.
Yes, it is. But looking back, it was just such a special time for my family, and a good time to be here and see God's hand in all of that is pretty incredible.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
And, you said that you were in the oil and gas business before, and your dad was too. That time, I mean, that was a pretty big, I'm guessing, I think we're about the same age. So I'm going to say the 80s. I mean, what an incredible time to be here in West Texas.
Absolutely.
What are some of your memories from that time? Because I know you were still fairly young, but, just to, look back, like you said, looking back, what was that time like?
Well, I have to, when you ask me about my story, I have to tell you, and a lot of people, and I don't go into this because it's kind of a long story. It's not something I usually share, but it's really my parents, my story is my parents' story. And so, we were just talking about sports before the show, but my dad was really truly an Arkansas hillbilly, and he had a basketball net in his backyard that was actually made from a branch of a tree. Oh, wow. So, and it's still there, and I would love to get the picture, but that is where he would practice basketball. So he actually got out of Arkansas, went to Eastern Oklahoma State on a basketball scholarship. He would hitchhike to college. True stories. These are true stories. And so you understand that. And then he finished his degree at OSU in petroleum engineering and worked summers in the oil field, and eventually moved to Midland in 1964 and worked for Texas Pacific. Started John H. Hendrix Corporation in 1976, a year after I was born. And so it's really, it's kind of a rags to riches story.
Absolutely.
And so that, I think, is a small enough glimpse into when people say, what do you do? And I say, well, but I really am a community volunteer, and it's because of my parents' success that has allowed me to do that and to give generously to so many. And anyway, so that's kind of the story in a nutshell.
And our community is grateful that you do that because, and thank you for sharing that story because you affect so many different lives. And I know that you're saying it's, your parents and they obviously they raised a great girl because you have such a giving heart. Do you have any, remember anything? Because I feel like grit is something, you said rags to riches. I mean, from having not even a basketball hoop just made out of sticks to a scholarship to achieving the success that he achieved. Right. Do you have any memories of anything he told you back in those days that kind of really bred to his motto in life and why he was able to do that? Because a lot of people aren't able to get out of the poverty and then achieve that success.
I don't know that I remember anything specific. I just know, he was a workaholic for sure, if that's a good word or a bad word, I'm not sure. But he worked all the time. And I also know that he was, it's actually kind of funny. He was always in a board meeting. Now, so he owned banks in Arkansas as well. Okay. So oil and gas and banks and cattle and timber, and anyway, he
very diverse,
right?
Very diverse,
so I think when you realize that about my dad, then you're like, oh, no wonder Karmen dabbles in everything. But my dad I just remember he was always in a board meeting,
right?
And so if that was a bank board meeting, or he served on Salvation Army board here, Junior Achievement, Petroleum Club, the hospital, the college, and so I think that was instilled in me, and giving back for sure.
Absolutely, because you had a great role model.
Right.
Because sometimes when I read your bio, like when you won Women of Achievement Award last year, I was like, wow, she sits on a lot of boards, and you've touched, therefore, a lot of lives. You learn that, from somewhere, and I obviouswe see that you learned that from your parents. So that's
and then
that's
also,
beautiful.
not to give, I want to give my mom equal credit, because at the same time she stayed home, and we always. It's kind of a family joke. She stayed home and she minded her own business, but I think there's so much to be said for that. And raised 3 daughters, and we had a beautiful home because of that and her dedication to our family. So, it was definitely, they helped instill that for sure.
Well, what is that saying that behind every successful man, right, there's even more, even greater woman that is supporting.
Absolutely.
And she sounds like that for sure.
Absolutely.
Oh,
absolutely.
That's awesome.
You think that's funny too, because I think about my husband's clothes and I'm like, I just let him wear whatever t-shirt. And I'm like, but my mom would just be like, had to dress dad to the nines. And anyway, so different generations, obviously. But.
For sure. Yes, I understand. Well, thank you for sharing that. Let's talk about philanthropy, because I think, a lot of people know it's your passion, but why is it your passion to help so many nonprofits in our area?
I think really truly it's because of growing up the way that I did, and seeing disparity, and I also think going to, Arkansas, there are really two wealthy towns in the whole state, and that's Fayetteville and Little Rock, and then the rest.
Fayetteville's where you went to school,
right?
Okay.
University of Arkansas, and the rest is really a very impoverished state.
Really,
and so I think seeing that difference and realizing that, no, not everybody has the same thing. Yeah. And so coming back, started volunteering. So I call myself a community volunteer very proudly, because volunteering is at the heart of what I do, and truly being a professional volunteer. So started volunteering at a very young age. I had an aunt that would take us to Sears every Christmas, and we would do Dress a Live Doll with Salvation Army, something that I still do every year. It's one of my favorites. I was a candy striper at Midland Memorial, and a Children's Museum docent at the Museum of the Southwest, and then just really realized the impact that I could have moving home, really realizing the impact that dollar has. And I, of course, joined the Junior League. My training there was incredible, and finding out, you want to touch the lives of people that you never know, that you never meet. I think that's an incredible thing and very meaningful. So anyway, volunteering is it's just been an incredible gift to me.
Absolutely. And like
it's all about me. Just kidding.
Well, when you give, you definitely you receive, you get, because there is nothing better than that feeling of helping someone and being able to see the fruits of that effort when whether you're volunteering your time, your money, your energy, whatever you're putting into it. When you see that come back, there is a sweet, you're right, it comes back to you.
Absolutely.
100%.
Absolutely.
What would you say to someone that is out there going, I'm too busy, I don't have time, how can I help? I just, and I don't know where to start, because
right.
It is tough. We have so many great nonprofits. Hello, all you wonderful nonprofits. We love you, we support you. It's awesome. So how do you pick? How do you get started?
Well, I think that, that's also kind of a funny thing too, because people are always like, pick your passion. Well, that's not necessarily how that happened with me. I think my passions have found me over the years, medical, education, the arts.
Yes.
But I think if you have someone in your family, maybe mental illness, it's then go and talk to the people at centers and go and figure out how you can help. Go and be a volunteer for the Kids First program, which is adoption. I mean, whatever your passion is, I think that there is a fit for you. And call these organizations, look at their websites. And that's something I still hate to say, is go to the website. But go to the website. They usually have great information. Click on volunteer, and you're off and running. And I don't know, I think volunteering has changed so much as well, because we've gotten much more savvy. Now we have development directors, whereas it used to be total volunteer fundraisers. So our time as volunteers might not be as intense as it was at one time. So even if you have an hour to give at a race on a Saturday, I mean, that's huge.
Right. And that's what I think is important. Find the ways that you can, and it'll grow organically from there. How do you choose? Because I know you love them all.
I do.
How do you choose which ones you're going to help and support in our community? Because it's tough.
Yeah. I hate it when people are like, you need to learn to say no. I'm like, but I'm just so passionate about all of it, because I think when they're all connected.
It's true.
You talk about you can lump them into these categories, but really I was talking to Manor Park the other day, and they were saying, oh, well, we really sometimes need help with elderly and mental health. And I thought, oh my gosh, I need to connect you over here. Or so it's all connected. And then elderly and the arts. I mean, oh my gosh, that's such a great, happy thing to do. So so how do I pick? I don't know. I think I really do. I think they have kind of just come organically to me.
To you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We have something that, because I love quotes,
Yeah.
and you probably know that about me. I think I say it a lot. I love quotes. And I think that we can all find something in a quote every day, and they hit y'all differently at a different time, right? So I want you to pick out of our quote of the day.
Oh, I love this. I love these little cards. They're so
Thank
cute.
you. I do too. I love, and let's see which one you got. The kind card. See how appropriate is that? I know. It is so awesome how this works out every time. Okay, so your quote, one of my favorites. I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. Maya Angelou.
I love that.
I know, I do too. What does that mean to you?
Oh gosh. That's what does that mean to me? I think that's really, really very impactful. Maya Angelou, speaking of, was from Arkansas.
Oh yeah,
Stamps, Arkansas.
Another Arkansas.
Yeah. So it all ties
Shout
together.
out Arkansas, Razorbacks.
It all ties together. I don't know. I just think absolutely kindness. And really what that is saying to me is love. And I think if you love, you are never wrong. And in the end, and in the end, isn't love all that we have? And that's what that says to me.
That's right.
Is to love, to accept people where they are, to give as you can, to always try to, the St. Francis quote about, or prayer rather, about seeking to understand instead of be understood. I mean, I think that's, speaks directly to that as well.
Absolutely. And like the Beatles said, all we need is love.
Absolutely. It's true. It's true. It is true.
It is. Do you have a favorite quote that you live by?
Oh, gosh. I'm going to have to think about that, Krista, and I'm going to have to bring it to you on a plaque. And
No, you don't have to bring it. Just send me a screenshot.
There you go. Perfect.
Send me a screenshot. But and if you think of one by the end, you could always throw it out, because I'm going to ask you your favorite things at the end of the show.
Yeah.
That's something
Perfect.
we do.
I love that too.
Let's talk a little bit about some of the changes that you've seen here in Midland over the years.
Yeah.
I know you've seen a lot, and especially when you're in the nonprofit sector and you're sitting on the boards, you see the changes.
Yeah.
What is one of the changes that you're most proud of that you've seen?
One of the changes I'm most proud of, my husband and I would go to, I'm probably going to offend some people with this, but we would go to, and Krista's just given me an open mic, so this is very dangerous.
This is great. I love it. That's the beauty of this show. You have an open mic.
It's so funny. But Billy and I used to go to events in the community, and we're like, oh my gosh, we're the youngest people here, And so seeing the demographic change so rapidly, I felt like it was almost overnight to the 32, 33 year age medium. I think that has been so exciting for our city. And I think people that have brought in, just like you and Al, people who have brought in these great innovative companies and ideas and refresh, and it's exciting. It's a really, really exciting time to be in Midland.
It is fun, and you did not offend anyone. But you're right that, and I think that is just the seasons of communities as well. You see, that younger generation, they've got this new energy, and they're bringing in new ideas.
Yes.
We're seeing so many changes visually here as well. I mean, you can go 5 blocks from where we're at right now to downtown Midland, and what a beautiful space.
Yes, absolutely.
I know the arts is also something very important to you. What about the arts? How have you seen that? We were just at the Wagner Noel the other night watching Jerry Seinfeld, and he kept complimenting our great facility, which is
incredible.
Amazing. So shout out to Stephanie Rivas and everyone at Wagner, because I thought, what a compliment. He's traveled the world, and he was like, this theater, y'all, is amazing.
I can't say enough about the Wagner, and just incredible bringing that to our town, and I think it's done so much for us, and also I always think of Midland, or certainly did, kind of as a training ground for children, and I want it to be a safe space for them to go to Midland Community Theater or the Wagner or the ballet, whatever it is. So they learn to appreciate that, but it's also in a comfortable place. It's not a stuffy, this is just for a different group. This isn't for your group. No, it's for everybody. And so I think,
love that.
yeah, so I think being comfortable. Museum of the Southwest is another great example.
Yes,
you know, I mean, it's
the changes there.
Yeah,
yes,
I think it's a great place just to go and expose people.
Yes, to things that they normally would not see,
exactly.
if you know. And I think that is so wonderful about like the Museum of the Southwest. So shout out to Lori Wesley. Say hi. The Children's Museum it has really evolved over time. And I remember we have 4 children. And I remember when they were young. That was one of my favorite places to take them. That and our great parks here that are getting even greater.
Right.
And so because it is something you can do that's inexpensive, you're creating memories, you're sharing history, and I just love that people like you have poured into those organizations because they make such a difference for families.
Absolutely.
Midland Community Theater. I know that you've sat on their board too.
Yeah.
I could pretty much say any nonprofit, and you probably sat on their board.
I'm just very, very nosy.
No. But Midland Community Theater, they really do amazing work. What is it about that entity that you have enjoyed being a part of?
You know what? I have always loved the theater, and it's kind of like broadcast journalism. I'm like, I want to be an actress too, but that's not going to happen. So I'll just come hang out with these people. And actually, shout out to Jane Moore over there at the theater.
Hi, Jane.
Because she was my speech and debate teacher in junior high at San Jacinto. And so she has been just an incredible, I don't even think she realizes. I mean, again, touching lives that you never realized you're touching. I think she's one of those people in our community and supports, obviously, nonprofits and the arts and does it in a quiet way, in her way. And there's just so much to be said for that.
Absolutely. You mentioned, I believe it was health, arts, and education are top, and I'm right there with you. Those to me are where we need to focus so much of our attention. Education, what is your ideal goal for our education system?
You know what? I wish I had the golden key.
I know. I know, don't we all?
I mean,
and the magic ball, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Just see the future, that magic 8 ball.
But I think, well, it goes back to, let's bring that back to my dad's story and what education did for him.
Yes.
And I mean,
changes lives.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so giving everyone a fair shot, truly a fair shot at bettering themselves through education. Yeah. My husband is actually, I don't know that he would mind me sharing this, but he did not graduate from high school, but he's one of the smartest people that I know. And it was just a life choice. At the time, he had lost his father, and I don't know that his life would have been any different with a formal education, but he reads all the time. So, even if there are ways to self-educate, I mean, to podcast, I mean, we have, the world at our fingertips on our phone now. So, education that way is so, good too. So it might be a different path for some people.
Absolutely. And everyone has a different path. Right. I mean, and that's what I love about like sitting here today is hearing stories, because everyone has a different journey and everyone can learn from that. What would you say to someone, what advice would you give to someone that maybe is feeling like they don't have the resources or the educational opportunities? What would you say to someone like that, especially, kind of going back to what your father's story and to see what he did. And, I think any kind of advice that you could give, it just might spark someone and change your life.
I think it's all about getting to know people and talking to people. And if you are in a situation less fortunate, maybe you do become a volunteer, and maybe you at an organization maybe that you benefit from, you meet people, they know other people, you start to talk, you share your stories, and they connect you with other people. So I think that people connection is certainly very important.
Absolutely. Do you have a dream that has not come true yet, that you have a big dream out there?
You know what, we're renovating a house. We've been doing that for 6.5 years.
Is it like that movie Money Pit?
It is. That's the first movie we're going to watch when we finally get in.
Yeah, wait till you're done.
I'm like, I think it's probably just the joke of the town now, but so that's a big dream that's going to come true. We started our family foundation about 3 years ago, though, so that was a really truly a big dream that came true as well.
That's awesome.
So really looking forward, I think, as I approach 50 in a few years, I just am looking for contentment and well-being in my life, and being able to give back and spend time with the people that I love. That's the dream.
That's
the
dream. And you're doing it.
Well,
you are
thank
doing
you.
it. Your heart is apparent in all that you do, and the way that you give back. We do something called Question of the Day.
Yeah.
Time for Question of the Day. Let's see what magic card you pull out of here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, you got the encourage card. I love it. You're encouraging someone today.
Yay.
Okay. Oh, this is fun. What advice would you give your 20-something self?
Gosh, I think,
Love that.
That's hard. I was going to say my first thing that popped in my mind is not to take things so seriously. Mm-hmm. But I also think counter to that, I was just having this conversation with a friend yesterday. In your 20s, you kind of have to take things seriously and be professional and show up on time, because, your reputation follows you. So
yeah, those are kind of the learning years. You're kind of learning what works, what doesn't. Can I be 20 minutes late to this job interview? No, you can't.
And actually, then going back to the previous conversation about talking to people, I think I was a little intimidated or shut down to talk to people. And it's something my 24-year-old nephew has actually taught me is, it's okay to ask questions. It's okay not to know everything.
Yes.
I think that's so important, because, no single person knows everything.
That's
so
true.
It's okay to ask questions and be inquisitive and talk to people. And
yes, and that is so true. And that's so smart of him to know at that age, because I don't think I asked enough questions at that age, because you think, at that time you kind of think you know a lot.
Exactly.
But you don't.
Exactly.
But I love that he is aware of that at this age.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. And people are so willing to help.
Yes.
If you just say, hey, I really don't quite get this, or can you explain this more? People are so willing to help.
I am finding that right now in the current season I'm in, because I'm in a newsroom with some really smart 25-year-olds that know computers and know the technology. And let me just tell you, technology has changed a lot since broadcasting began. We used to do these things called tape. Now, there's no tapes.
Where'd the tapes go?
Where's the tapes? How do we edit? What? It's at my computer at my desk? What is going on here?
Amazing.
And so they are smart. You just have to ask the questions.
Exactly.
And that is definitely a good reminder to everyone, for sure.
Absolutely.
I do something called favorite things. I like to hear what your favorite things are. Yeah. And so I want to start with favorite book.
Oh my gosh, my favorite book. It's probably a Garrison Keillor book, and it is WLT, A Radio Romance. If you haven't ever read that,
I haven't.
Yeah, you might be interested.
I'm going to write it down one more time.
It's WLT, A Radio Romance, and it's by Garrison Keillor, and it's small town Minnesota, and his characters are so rich. Journalism fits right in there. Ooh. And I would say that's my all-time favorite book. It's just, it's nothing too heady, but it's just fun and funny, and I think we can all learn to laugh at ourselves. So it's a great question. My husband and I are both huge book lovers. So books are important to us.
They are important. Yes. They are. Let's go to best or favorite podcast.
Favorite podcast? I haven't really gotten into the podcast arena
yet. But she is now, because she's going to listen to the Krista Escamilla Show.
Absolutely. Krista, I've got to listen to Krista. I've got to listen to Anderson Cooper. He's actually doing a new podcast on grief.
Oh,
and
I'll have to check that out.
Right. And I think that's obviously an important one, something we don't talk a lot about, and we need to get much more comfortable with.
Yes.
And then also IU Lilly School of Philanthropy actually has the podcast First Day, and so that's another great one if you're interested in that arena.
Fantastic. So, sounds good. Thank you. Your favorite business tool that has helped you through the years?
My favorite business tool, my iPhone.
It's a good one. Where would we be without the phone?
Yeah, I live and die. It's actually so funny. I'm quite a paper person. Like
I'm too.
Yeah.
Hard copy on everything. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But however, my schedule is in my phone, and I live and I die by it.
Okay.
So it truly my schedule in my phone.
Okay.
Yes,
Awesome.
Yes, couldn't live without it.
Okay, this is tough, and when I ask this question, I'm just asking it because I want to hear what other people's are, and I don't want to offend any other restaurant, but favorite restaurant.
Gosh. Yeah.
Because I like getting, like, sometimes you learn of one you didn't know about.
Right, exactly. You know, I'm kind of old school. I'm kind of traditional. Again, my first thought was Luigi's. I love Luigi's. Grew up on Luigi's. Has been here 100 years. You know,
Love Luigi's too.
Wall Street. I'm thinking, you know, we grew up on Jumperito. You know, all those.
You're hitting all my favorites,
All
and
the
I'm
good
getting really
Midland
hungry.
all the good Midland restaurants. So.
Jumperito, oh, that's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
it is.
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
love the mild sauce. I love the hot sauce. I go back and forth. I got the green and the red open, pouring it on the burrito.
And you know, I have to say, speaking of Mexican food, like my college girlfriends, whenever they come, they're like, "Oh my gosh, we can't believe you have drive-through Mexican food." Because that's not a thing.
This isn't a thing other places, really?
Not in Little Rock or Memphis. So anyway, they should come up with their own concept up there. But anyway,
or Jumperito could move there. they could open them all over the country.
Exactly. Hint.
That's right. Favorite place to travel when you are leaving Midland? Favorite place to travel?
Oh, you know, I would say my favorite place I've ever been was probably Milan and Venice in Italy.
Is it beautiful
Oh
as it
my
is in
gosh.
pictures?
I grew up hearing the stories about a town with no car, and I'm like, how does that even work? So we had that trip a few years ago, and it was so incredible. And then if you're a shopper, which you say you're not really, but
Not a big shopper.
Milan is kind of like the best mall you could ever go to.
Really?
It's just, oh my gosh, it's incredible.
That I would like to see. That you're probably just going to look anyway because the prices are probably outrageous.
Right,
but
right.
I bet the architecture of the malls. I mean, just beautiful.
It's just incredible, and the fabrics, and you think about the artists too, the designers. I don't know. I'm quite a clothes file, so. And I get that from my mom, but just, the fabrics and how they're put together and the creativity behind it, it's just incredible. And so then, of course, to see them displayed and how those are, artists too. And anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. Really
okay.
cool. Yeah.
Favorite piece of advice someone has given you?
Favorite piece of advice? Gosh, maybe I need to listen to people more. I'm gonna write that down. How about that's advice I just gave myself.
There you go.
Listen
That's
to
advice.
people more.
That's good advice.
I don't know. I think I go back to kind of the not taking life so seriously, and we're all here for such a short time, and just to enjoy the ride.
Absolutely. Enjoy each day. It is a gift. It is a
Yes,
gift.
yes.
Favorite life hack? Do you have a life hack that you're like, oh, people need to know this?
Gosh, favorite life hack. Yeah, gosh, I'm striking out here.
No, you're not. You're doing good. It's going to come to you.
I don't know. I would say it has to do. My husband had a dead car battery yesterday, so my stepdad had to go in.
Oops. Pardon the alarm. I set alarms to remind myself about everything. So.
See, phones.
They help us out.
Life hacks, phones. Anyway, we were talking about tires, and we were talking about the penny trick on the tires and the tread. That's a life hack. Just those little things.
Okay.
To check your tires and make sure the tread.
And you put it in? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
I vaguely remember
and
it.
if you see his head, I don't know.
Okay, there you go. If you see his head, then it's time to go get a new tire. I love it. There you go. There's a good life hack.
Yeah. That's a random one. But,
Your favorite memory growing up in Midland?
Favorite memory? Speaking of the restaurants, going out to eat with my family, I just think, so I was the baby. I had two older sisters, and gosh, you know what? I remember going to see, this is a great story to me. My oldest sister had taken my middle sister and I she was 13 years older than me, so she had taken us to go see Grease in the theater.
Ooh.
And that's a pretty
big deal.
Big memory. Yeah.
Aww.
So just the three of us, kind of a fun thing. So
I love that.
Yeah.
That is sweet. If you had one wish for the city and our community of Midland, what would that wish be?
I wish we could communicate more.
Oh, that's a good one.
I think that
what does that look like to you? Like, how do you see that? Like,
right. I think we're getting better about it. I think the nonprofits are definitely getting better about it. I think that we are all so busy doing what we love and what we're passionate about, but we need to communicate more who's doing what, and some more synergy, I believe, is really important to the future, because we have so many people doing so many wonderful, great things.
Yes.
But let's talk about how we can connect
and help each other out instead of just, this is what I'm doing. I'm just doing,
Yeah.
I love that.
Exactly.
I think that is good. And you're right. I see that more as we grow and evolve as a community.
Yeah.
And I really do see, and maybe that's what, I mean, I don't know, maybe COVID kind of taught us that, like when we were all kind of, all by ourselves, like, okay, we need to reach out more. We need to connect more. We need to communicate and help each other
Yes,
out. I love that. Good vision. Good vision. What do you want your legacy to be?
Oh, I think just giving. A friend, actually my first grade teacher, I was friends with her until her passing, and it's kind of an unusual thing. But anyway,
I love that. I think that's beautiful. Yeah,
it was great. But it was actually her son who just randomly said to me one day, "Karmen, your gift is giving." And I thought, oh, okay, and kind of went on down the road, and have really thought about that so much. And I think if it's giving, just however you can give. If it's a quick phone call, if it's a we were talking about Kathleen Kerwin-Haney and how she's so good just to send a text when you need it the most. It's just like, when you think about those people, they need to hear from you for a reason. And just your kindness and your giving.
Well, I think you're living that legacy for sure. And I think, God wants us to use our gifts, and you're definitely using yours every day. And it's fun to see the impact of it, I'm sure, for you years later when you see, the fruits of that effort to whichever nonprofit it is that, you're helping at that time, to see them achieve their goals. Right. It's like you're a goal helper. You get to help everyone.
I think something else that's really different or unusual is that some people wait until they're passing to start their foundations, and that is not something that I wanted to do. We do not have children, so I don't know what the future really brings for that, but I thought it was important to be able to, again, being nosy. I'm just nosy enough. I want to know what our gifts are doing. So,
love that.
so doing it here and doing it now is important to me.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, we're coming to the end of our podcast. I hate this. I want to just keep talking all day long,
absolutely.
But I know you're busy. You've got to go with your day, and I just really appreciate your time here today. And we mentioned earlier that we gave you an open mic. So
scary.
Is there anything? No, I love it. I love that. Is there anything that I didn't ask and that we didn't talk about that you think is important to share about your journey and your story?
I think it really, I've covered everything. I think heart of what I do is community volunteer. I love it. I think there's always room for it. And just the importance of understanding my history and where I come from, that's a very important part of the piece too, the puzzle. So no, I think we've kind of hit the high notes.
Well, thank you for doing what you do, because we know that you could be doing this anywhere in the world, and for you to be giving back in your hometown is a beautiful thing.
Well, Midland has been so good to us, and actually, I will add another thing is the people that I have met along the way. And in Midland, we were talking about people who could come on your show earlier, and gave you a few names, but really, the history, Joan Baskin, the people like her who have been here, who have done that, who taught me, without even teaching, without even saying really
you should do
a word.
this. They
Exactly.
Just did it.
And it's really living that example, but just incredible people that live in this town, and I'm just so blessed to be a part of the community.
Well, thank you. And the feeling is mutual. We're blessed to have you in this community.
Thank you.
I always close out the show by asking for your favorite nonprofit, which I told her, I was like, I know this is going to be hard for you. I don't even know how you're going to pick, but we give a donation on behalf of our show to that nonprofit.
That's lovely.
Who would you like us to give the donation to?
Well, you know what? I have to drum roll.
Drum roll.
I have to say Manor Park, because
that. Yes.
serving as president of their board over there, and I just think it's such an incredible gem in our
Yes.
community.
We are, and we're lucky to have Manor Park
Yes,
here in our community.
absolutely.
Well, wonderful. Well, thank you
Yeah.
so much. Thank you for your
Yeah,
time.
no,
I
thank
cannot
you.
tell you how much I enjoyed this visit and getting to know you more, and just hearing your story and hearing your heart, and getting to know why you do what you do, because I think that's so important. We can all learn from that, and so hopefully you've enjoyed this as much as I have, and I hope that you will share our show with someone that you love, because that's how we keep helping people, as we keep sharing and growing and learning and loving together. So thank you again, Karmen, for your time. And
for
we
having me.
also, do you have a website or an Instagram handle if anybody wants to reach out to you that you want to push it?
Josh, well, self-promotion.
Yeah, a little self-promotion. I know you don't do that, so
No,
I'm sorry.
I
That's why you're like, oh, you're throwing this at me with quote of the day too, and so,
Life hacks.
life hacks, all these questions.
No, really, I will share an email address, because I am always happy, if there's a project people are working on or need thoughts or have an idea for a nonprofit or whatever it is, feel free to reach out to me, and you're going to laugh, but it's an AOL.com
I love it. I
email
love it.
address from 1994. Anyway, so
I knew we were around the same age.
so it
I
will
know.
still be good in 20 years.
That's
Anyway,
right.
as long as I'm here, it will still be good. So it is KHEND4327 at AOL.com.
I love it.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you
Yeah,
for sharing
of
that.
course,
And
of course.
again, your time. And we appreciate all of you being here today. I want to thank our sponsors one more time: Rig ID Workwear, Midland Cap Company, and JoinCapClub.com. Feel free to leave a review. We love those reviews. Those are so nice. I love the 5-star ones. Those are really nice. Thank you for those. Yeah, I love seeing those. And again, remember my mottos in life: dream big, believe in yourself, and never give up. You do those 3 things, you're going to do all right. So thank you so much for joining us. You make it a great day, and we will see you soon on the next episode of the Krista Escamilla Show. You make it a great day.